Hey there, Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Well, let's do our annual review. We're running a little late on that this year, but it's going to have to go quick here because I got a lot of things I want to go over. But let's talk about last year real quick. It's nothing special. It was an okay year. Not sure how many videos I did. I didn't do quite as many as I normally do. I think I only did about 45 videos. And my views were not near as busy as they have been in years past, but then in YouTube, who isn't experiencing that? So, and that's okay. I'm not here for the be famous in YouTube. I just do this more for my own therapy, since I'm here at the house pretty much all the time since I'm retired. This is just something that helps me give my thoughts, at least my thinking, still going. Anyway, I digress. Let's talk about last year's projects. Last year, my favorite project for me, the one I'm so glad that added to the functionality of my shop, was this fella right here, this meter. Oh, foghorn. Must be a fog out there today. Anyway, this thing has been really handy, and it's really allowed me to start doing some of the electrical things that I've been wanting to do. And this meter has been well worth the money, even though it cost me, I think it cost me $90, and they're over $100 now. But they are worth it. The only thing is, I bought the 18 amp one. I probably should have bought the 24 just for the hell of it, for the extra $20 it would have cost. But I just was being stubborn. Anyway, whatever the case, this thing is going to work out for a long time. I'm also very thrilled about getting this thing back in service. Those two batteries that were in there, the sealed lead acid, those things were on they were bad. So I've got that 100 amp hour battery in there now, and this thing is really nice now. So I have some more work I want to do to it, but it's now in the shop, functional, and quite frankly, I found this board to put on top here, and I think I'm going to mount this thing kind of up a little bit higher. So I had this board that like a working table, and then have a little drawer underneath it right here. And then you take this board out to get to the electrical stuff. That's all the electrical for the whole system. So I think the design is working out nicely. I want to put a 12-volt panel on the side with several different type of connectors, but we'll see how that goes this year, how quick I'll do it. But I really am glad to have this. It's on rollers, so that anytime I want, I can just roll it wherever I want. And it has locking wheels on it. So this is going to make a great little thing to use in the shop from time to time. And I can move it around to wherever I happen to be working if I need to get some portable power. So anyway, these are my favorite projects of the year last year. The one that got the most views, do you know what that was? I was surprised when I looked through there and saw it. It was this little fella right here. My little vise that I made. And actually, I love this thing. I've been using this thing a lot. And this thing is so handy. And because of the parallel clamps, and you can adjust the angles however you want to be able to clamp onto something odd-shaped even, this thing has been awesome. I really am so glad I have made this thing. I think I would like to make a couple of improvements on it. So maybe I'll take on one side or the other of this clamp, cut it at a 45-degree angle up so that it would narrow my gripping width, but it also gives me an angle out here so that if I put something in, I can get to it sticking out. Rather than sticking out here, it would be sticking out from an angle. I think a little angle on one corner would be an improvement on this thing to help give you just that little bit more versatile capability of being able to work on something. But this thing is great for small parts. So anyway, that was last year. Moving on, so what am I going to do now? I have a list of different things I have an idea to make. And one of the things I want to make is, I have my power station for my Ryobi batteries. It's basically a panel that I made, and I plugged in 4 different battery chargers, Ryobi battery chargers into it. So I can plug up to 4 batteries into it, and it plugs into the wall. And it's because it's self-contained, I can lift it off the wall, unplug it, and take it somewhere else if I want. And it's a great little charging station for my Ryobi batteries. And by having 4 of them, I can charge up to 4 batteries at one time. So it's been a great unit, but there's 2 drawbacks to it. First off, when power goes out, I can't charge my batteries with it. Well, I could. I could plug into an inverter and then use it. But also the big drawback is it only charges at 2 amps. That means that my 9 amp hour battery, if this thing goes dead, it takes 4.5 hours to charge this thing back up. That when I don't have power and I need to charge it back up, I don't want to have to wait 4.5 hours. And when the power is off, when it comes to these batteries, I think you can charge them at a 1C rate. So I should be able to charge a 9 amp hour battery at 9 amp hours, quite frankly, on the Ryobi. They do have a built-in BMS, so you're not going to overcharge these things per se. If you charge them at a higher rate, you will shorten the life of batteries theoretically. I'm not going to do that all the time, but I want to have the ability to be able to fast charge them if I don't have power, or for some reason I need to fast charge it. I want to be able to plug it in and fast charge it. And I think that by most of the time I use the regular charger still, but do the fast charging when it calls for it. It's not going to shorten that battery life to the point where I'll make it probably noticeable. But we'll see. But I do want to have that capability of being able to charge them up fast. So I want to make a 4 plug-in battery charger individually. And I want them all to have their own control. Just like this little control right here. This is a 5 amp hour. And you can... a PSU. So anyway, brain fart. Anyway, I want to use 4 of those. The only problem is those only go up to 5 amps. And obviously I want to be able to go up to 10 amps to charge these up. So I'm still looking for the right mechanism. But I do want to have the control that that one has to be able to adjust those amps. So if I put a 5 amp hour battery in, I want to be able to turn it to 5 amp hours and charge it. Or to 1 amp hour and charge it, depending on my environment. So I think having one that you can control would make a much better charger. And I want to be able to plug it into a DC source to use it. So I can just plug it into my big 100 amp hour battery. And I should be able to charge my Ryobi, up to 4 Ryobi batteries, using my main battery charger, my main battery pack here. So anyway, that's one of the biggest things, one of the projects I want to do. Some of the other projects, I have a 450 watt ATX box out of a computer, and it's a really nice one. But I decided that I have that one that I took and I used a breakout box on my workstation over here, my electric workstation right behind you. But it's okay when I'm sitting there, but a lot of times I'm not sitting there. So that's why this power unit has been really nice to have. But I have this ATX box, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do with that? So I've decided I am going to make one more power unit, power supply unit using that ATX box. And I'm only going to do it because I can, not because I need it. But I'm going to put that little black, I've got one of those little breakout boards that you can buy. I paid like $12 for them, for 2 of them or something a long time ago. And I use one of them now with the other ATX. It just plugs into that 24-pin plug-in that plugs on the motherboard. And you plug it into this, and then you have immediately 3, 5, and 12 volts available to you. And it's all fused, has the on and off switch, has the resistor already on the board so that when you start it up, there's a load on the ATX box. So it does all that for you. So I'm going to use that also. But I think I'm also going to put a really nice meter on the whole unit, similar to this one here, my Ryden here, something like that, I think, on the box, so that I can actually go to that. I can get quick power from my breakout board, or I can go to that and control my output. So I think I would like to use that. But if I'm going to do that, I also am going to need a power supply to boost the current from the 12 volts up to 60 volts for this type of meter. So that one is going to be a little more complicated box, a PSU box that is built from a ATX power source. But I think I'd like to make my own. I'm going to use that as the power source. Use something like this as the main power unit, but I'm also going to add a little breakout board. And I'm going to put it in a nice box similar to what I did here with all its own accessories. So we'll have a nice example of how to build a really nice power supply unit, a bench power supply that you might want to build in your shop using a ATX as your power source, and still be able to do anything from 3 volts all the way up to 100 volts if you have the right equipment. So that's what I'm kind of looking at. That's one of the projects I would like to do in this year, which that is going to be quite an taking on. Anyway, some of the other things. I do have 2 more batteries that I bought a while back that are lithium. They're 16 amp hour batteries. And I don't know if you remember them. They're Miady batteries, M-I-A-D-Y. And what makes those unique is they're 16 amp hour batteries, but you can put those things under something like a 2.5 C load discharge rate, and you can charge them at a 1 C rate, but you can discharge at a 2.5 C, which is that's 40 amps pulling off those batteries. Do I need to pull 40 amps? No. But anyway, I bought 2 of them to see what I might do with those. But I haven't really got that project to a full functionality. So I would like to go back and I would like to fix that up. But I'm actually thinking about splitting it into 2 16 amp hour packs instead of 1 32 amp hour pack. Also, I'm thinking about maybe making it into a 16 amp hour 24 volt system. That is also maybe worthwhile. Then I should be able to pull 50, 60 amps out of that thing, if you think about it. At that point, that would be quite the little power unit. So I might do something like that with it instead, too. I'm still thinking, but I do want to get that thing functional this year. Because I have to go through hoops, jump through hoops to really get it to use it because of the way it's set up. It's not a finished product to just throw on the bench and use like this one or this one would be. So anyway, that's something else I want to kind of work on this year. I really want to get those 2 16 amp batteries into the scheme of things, especially with fogs. If I do go run out of power, I want to be able to run to those as well as my Ryobi pack and this one here. So I should have plenty of stored power to run off of until I can get regrouped on how I'm going to deal with the problem at hand if it's more than 24 hours. So anyway, what else am I going to work on? I want to build a probably maybe as much as 600 watt solar collection, an array. And I want to be able to just plug it into, at this point, into this unit, so I can keep it charged off of the solar, and then I can bring my other battery packs and charge them off of this. And that would get replenished from the solar through the day, but I have a power source to be able to charge all my other power banks up from here. So anyway, that's the theory. And what I'd like to do is also increase that to 200 amp hours instead of 100 amp hour. So I may buy a second battery. I can buy that battery now, that same battery. I paid right at $400 for it. You can get it for under $300 now. So I think I'm going to buy a second one and maybe hook 2 of them up in parallel so that I get just a little bit more storage out of it. I think that 100 isn't really quite enough to be a, what do we call it, a power wall. So, but basically I would be using it functionally as a power wall to charge up all my other battery packs. So anyway, I think that's the other thing I want to do is get that set up with some kind of solar array so that it can keep it charged up all the time. And then I can start using that all the time to charge up my Ryobi batteries instead of plugging into the grid. So that anytime I use my Ryobi batteries, it'll be free. So anyway, just a nice thought. I would like to get some kind of solar collector up That's probably the lowest thing on my list to get done this year, because obviously, first off, it has to be done in the summer months. So we'll see where it goes. Foghorn. Must be a tugboat going by somewhere. Anyway, what else am I going to have? Oh, I'm going to go back. I haven't forgotten. I've been playing with my little leather hinge that I did, if you remember that thing. And I also was talking about making it into a kind of a piano hinge. So I have some ideas. I'm going to be playing with that hinge. So you'll see that pop up this year a couple of times on an OTB Thinker video, where I've made some improvements or a different way of making that hinge. So stay tuned. If you have any ideas about that, I'd love to hear your ideas about that leather hinge, because I think it's going to be a great little hinge for shop use. Make it quick and easy to make some kind of shop hinge, if you want to make your own hinges in the shop. What else am I going to do? I have a new dilemma, and you know what? I think I'll wait on that, because I think I'm going to make that my own single episode about 40-volt systems. So let's hold off on even talking about that. But I do want to talk about 40-volt systems this year, as opposed to all I do now is I use strictly the 18-volt Ryobi battery 1 Plus systems, but I am looking at 40 volt. So let's go over that whole thing out. We'll talk about that and see what you think. I also am looking at one last thing. Is I had this idea in the back of my head all of a sudden about making a battery pack, a Ryobi battery pack that can be carried on your back, or maybe even a smaller one version that would be like a fanny pack that you just snap on your waist, and then it has the plug-in to plug into your tool, so you have this short cord. But then more than just one single battery running this thing, you can have a 2 or 3 battery pack so that you could run something for a very long time. Now, why would you want that? Maybe for their Ryobi weed whacker. Instead of having just one battery and having the thing kind of heavy carrying the battery, you can have it really light, plug in the short cord to go to your backpack, and you can use the weed whacker, walk wherever you want, and the backpack will keep that weed whacker going for as long as you want. They have I forgot what they call it, a power head, where you can have different attachments for the Ryobi, and I've been kind of looking at that, trying to figure it out. But it's a 40-volt system. But what I liked about it is you plug the battery directly into the unit, and it makes it heavy on the back side of the unit from that 40 amp hour battery. So what if I made a 40 amp backpack with a short cord that plugged into that power head instead? Now the thing is even lighter, and the battery is still with you wherever you walk. So if you're using it as a tiller or as a weed whacker, an edger, whatever you're using it on, you can run it off your backpack instead of running it off with a single battery. Anyway, I think a backpack would be a great idea. And it not only would it give you more power for a longer period of time while you're out using it, but it makes the unit a lot lighter for you. So for us older people, especially, you know who, our biggest complaint about these battery-powered units is that they get a little heavy with the 9 amp hour battery in it. Just imagine what the 40 amp hour, the 40 volt battery is going to be weighing like when you start using those things. So I think a battery pack of some kind is not a bad idea. So I think I'm working on that, trying to figure out how I can do something in that respect. And if you have any ideas, or if you know any videos out there about that, let me know. I would love to know. But these are some of the things I've been thinking about. As an OTB thinker, I like to think of some new ideas and new projects, and most of it actually comes from watching you guys or listening and talking to all of you. So I really appreciate when you participate and give me your comments. It's like, now, you got an idea what I'm going to be working on? I would love to hear what you're working on and what you're thinking of working on. Maybe even we can spitball about some of the ideas like I have here, back and forth a little bit, so to help improve it before I even build it. So if you have any suggestions about any of the ones that I've talked about today, I would appreciate the input, because it does help me make the thing better when I finally get around to making it right. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm going. Again, who knows where we're going to end up at the end of the year. But that's what I'd kind of like to do. This is my to-do list for the year, and it can change at any moment, and I may not get it all done. But one thing I can bet on, it's going to be fun no matter what I do, because that's all we do around here these days is what we like to do. So anyway, I do want to thank you for coming by. Leave your thoughts, your comments. Tell me about what you're working on, you know. Anything of interest, I'm willing to talk about it. If you learned something here or you like this video, hit that like button. Lets me know that I'm doing something right. Most importantly, though, please come back again, because we're nowhere near done. Thanks. We'll see everybody again very soon.